Hey everybody, welcome to VPS, and we're really excited to be doing our first ever video interview for the blog. So we've got a great series here that we're going to be doing on assessments and looking at the assessment system that my friends Ryan McKie and Vaughn Bethel have created over at Performance QSA. I've had the pleasure to look at this system, see what they're doing with it, how they're organizing it, and it's been pretty incredible to watch them progress and grow this system and develop it into one of the most complete systems I've seen to assess any sort of athletic performance, but also use it for general population. So I've got Ryan Mackey here with me today, and I'm really looking forward to picking his brain on the assessments, what goes into that. And I know Ryan has an awesome, background in athletics and also working with some really high-level athletes to utilize this system. So they've tested it out on the best of the best. And I want to give Ryan a chance just to introduce himself and tell us, how did you get started into the fitness industry?
Well, Ryan, I got into the fitness industry almost about 9 years ago. I met Vaughn Bethel at Performance QSA as an athlete. So I came to him after he hired someone, and I came over with that coach. And so that happened my senior year of high school. And I was fortunate enough to earn a scholarship to play collegiate football at Furman University, which is Vaughn's alma mater. And so from that point, it went on through my freshman year. We ran into each other at a Furman basketball game. I was looking to do some part-time performance coaching. He needed somebody part-time, so we reconnected again. And so that was nearly 9 years ago now. So that's how I got my start in Performance QSA. And my athletic background comes from pretty much everything as a young kid, as a youth. As I got closer to high school, I started to specialize. Track and field, Junior Olympics. I did the multi-events, pentathlon, decathlon, but then, of course, played football. So come from a family full of football players. My dad played at South Carolina with George Rogers, Heisman Trophy winner. My brothers just finished their collegiate careers in football as well. So that's my background in a nutshell for athletics. And then from there, we've kind of coached multiple athletes at high levels, LPGA, PGA Tour, NFL, MLS, MLB, all types of athletes, CFL football players. So tested a lot of high-level athletes, but at the same time have 10 times more general population athletes, and that's kind of led to us creating this testing system.
That's awesome. And I know you guys have a unique system for accepting athletes, and I think that allowed you to grow the adult side and your general population side as well. You guys do a kind of a very selective process for allowing your athletes. And tell us a little bit about that process, and then also how you work with your general population.
Right, you're very right on that, Ryan. We don't just take any athlete. And so when we started Performance QSA, which QSA stands for Quickness, Speed, and Agility, we were training only competitive athletes. So we were training youth, we were training middle school, high school, college, and professional athletes. And then what happened is, as we were doing this, the youth athletes, mom and dad, were sitting on the couch, and they started asking us, well, do you do anything with general population? And due to our educational background, I have a degree in health and exercise science from Furman University as well as Vaughn. We could do that through continuing education. We were able to make that transition, and that's how we realized that taking the selective process and picking and testing the competitive athletes, some of those principles could also be used for our general population. And as we went through that process over the course of the past few years, we have tweaked it to work for both groups. And that, like I said, that's what's led us to creating this testing and assessment system to be able to give our athletes a good platform to keep their goals in front of them, but also to progress them as well.
Excellent. And then now, the system you guys use to deliver like programming to adults, so the general population. Tell us a little bit about that, because I know you take a little bit of a unique view. It's not just fat loss; it's more you treat them like athletes, correct?
We do treat them like athletes, and that's part of our tagline at Performance QSA, train like an athlete. Because like I said, the principles that we train our competitive athletes with, for instance, we got our competitive athletes on the speed ladder. We're working on fast twitch. We're working on, coordination, those kind of things, trying to improve foot speed. Well, we can still use that same tool with our general population. So if we have a professional athlete in here 1 hour and our general population athletes come in and they see them working on the speed ladder, well, then the next hour they're going into their training session and they're using the exact same tool. There's kind of a unique connection that they get from doing the same type of drills. Now, obviously, we're not really concerned about their foot speed, but we might use it as a central nervous system activation, something fun to start off the session. We might use it more so as a cardio tool. So the training process that we take, we fuse the things that we do with our competitive athletes into the general population. And obviously, it's we progress it and regress it depending on the nature of the athletes in the training session. But it has created a great environment for us to train competitive athletes and the general population side by side, and everybody feel like they've got a place and not feel intimidated.
That's awesome. And I think that the other thing that that really does is it gives people a purpose to train. It's not just based around a fat loss goal, but they have some other focus. And you mentioned fun in there. And I think keeping the training fun, keeping it exciting, keeping people engaged, that's something that the Beast method, the athletic analysis does as well, is it allows you to constantly set new targets for clients. So the training process never ends. So I think you've taken like all the good that you get from a CrossFit model where they have that athletic feel, there's that competitive nature, and you've blended it into what you guys do and your programming system, and you've put that all together, which has been pretty amazing to see over time. So as we get into this now, let's talk a little bit about the BEAST method. I know that it's an acronym, so give us a little bit about what BEAST means.
Right. The BEAST method is an acronym. Yeah, it's cool, it's catchy, but there's actually something behind it. If you set the word BEAST on a pyramid, with B being at the bottom, it stands for balance, explosiveness, agility, speed/stamina. You mix that in there for the competitive athlete and the general pop, and then talent, or AKA skill. Like I said, we started with this with competitive athletes. Most competitive athletes want to start at the top of that pyramid when the talent component. I'll use baseball for instance. Baseball players, they're doing batting lessons. They got a pitching coach. They got a catching coach, but not many times they're not really working on the things that would enhance those skills, like the balance and the explosion. So that is the foundation, the principles of our training. Methodology is a bit different, but the principles are the same, and that's what the BEAST acronym it stands for, and that's where it's founded on. So, like I said, we can take those same principles and apply it to the general population, because balance becomes very, very important. We know as we get older and losing our balance. My great grandmother losing balance as she gets older, so we got her doing things that help her with her balance. So those things are very, very important. And the agility, the speed, the stamina, the talent component may not be such a big deal for the general population, but like I said, we have a lot of people who are what we call quote unquote weekend warriors, who they're still getting out doing lots of things on the weekend. They might be doing the adventure races and all those types of things. They want to do some type of fitness competition. So that's where that kind of talent component comes in for them as well. So we've taken that acronym and we use it as general principles. It's like I said, the methodology changes, but we use the principles to support our training. And that way we always know that our athletes are getting sound coaching, but then they also know that they have something to progress themselves through their training process.
That's awesome. And then, so the Beast method is actually like a programming system, correct? I mean, that's the overall concept.
Correct. We refer to it as the Beast method training systems. And so the testing, the TBM, the athletic analysis for fitness, is just one component of the overall training system. And we call it for fitness because we've tailored this particular testing model for the general population. Yes, we did start it with the competitive athletes, but we realized they needed other components, and so we transitioned it to the general pop. But what we are working on, and this will come later on down the road, but it will be the TBM for sport assessment model. So you can take a competitive athlete and tailor it towards the particular sport that athlete's working with. So yeah, you're right about that.
That's excellent to have a system that has the same principles, can be used in multiple different populations to deliver the result you're looking for. Now, as you developed this system, you obviously found a need that you needed something to assess where somebody's starting, how they're progressing. So tell me a little bit about how you guys have worked to develop the Beast method athletic analysis, and especially the athletic analysis for fitness, which is kind of what we're interested in today, is that assessment process for the general pop.
Right. So we realized that when we were training our athletes a few years ago, that when it came to aerobic exercise and body weight exercise, they would crush it. They were just absolutely getting after it. So we realized we need to get our athletes stronger. So we created a test that included very, very lightweight, or what now would be considered to our athletes very lightweight. When we first implemented this, it absolutely crushed them. So we figured out what we needed to know, that they were weak and that we needed to program a little more strength in there. But it also realized that it was probably too much at the time. And so we needed a consistent system to be able to assess our athletes. And we tried to do that on a monthly basis in about every 4 to 5 weeks. And so what we did is we needed to figure out something that fit into what we do at Performance QSA. And like you mentioned, everyone has their model. CrossFit has a model. Other people have their model. And we wanted to have something that infused the things that we felt like made an ultimate athlete. We needed agility. We needed good movement patterns from the hinge. We needed, horizontal, vertical pulling, those type of things. So what we did is we created this 5 testing system for the performance test. That is the performance component of the Beast Method Athletic Analysis for Fitness. Okay, that's all and well. You have a lot of people come in here and they can crush a workout, but then to be an ultimate athlete, there are other components of fitness. So we also have a body composition component, which directly correlates to nutrition. That's the part nobody really likes to focus on. That's the hard part, if you will, and the part that you're faced with multiple decisions a day. So we took that component and we put that on a scale, understanding their athletes need essential body fat. We understand that the athletes need to, depending on their goals, need to have that fall in a certain range. So we infuse that part. So that's the 2 components. First of all, performance test, body composition. And then we also started looking at the different demographics as far as age of our athletes. And because we're talking about general population here, we were working with lots of athletes and we're having them move like athletes. Obviously very different, but we needed to assess that. We had used other movement screens in the beginning. They were a little more complex than we needed them to be. They took a long time to assess. So what we did is we created our own integrative movement assessment. And we created one that allowed us to work on coordination and integrated movement from the upper body and the lower body. That was very important for us because of the type of training that we do. It's not the best thing if you were in a physical therapy setting, but for what we can do and what we need to see very quickly, we are able to assess an athlete in those 3 components. So you've got an integrated movement component, you've got body composition, and you have a performance test. All 3 of those things are put together and they're weighted equally. So you can't have someone who is has great movement but doesn't have any strength or rope capacity. Or you can't have someone who has great body composition but won't do anything else. Or that's great in performance test. So you have to be a well-balanced athlete.
That's awesome. I mean, that almost answered. I was going to follow up with a question on why not use a system that's out there. What do we use? And we'll get into detail, I think, on the 3 different components. But I love how you have a balanced approach there, especially the body composition, because that is such a big factor. I think I've seen it more when I was my last few year or so at Force. You see some athletes come in and they just don't have the nutrition nailed down at all. And you just can't be a good athlete if your body composition doesn't meet the need of your sport. So it's awesome to be able to see that all come together.